Since regaining independence, Madagascar has transitioned through 4 republics with corresponding revisions to its constitution. The First Republic, 1960–72, under the leadership of French-appointed President Philibert Tsiranana, was characterized by a continuation of strong economic and political ties to France. Many high-level technical positions were filled by French expatriates and French teachers. Textbooks and curricula continued to be used in schools around the country. Popular resentment over Tsiranana's tolerance for this neo-colonial arrangement inspired a series of farmer and student protests that overturned his administration in 1972. Gabriel Ramanantsoa, a major general in the army, was appointed interim president and prime minister that same year, but low public approval forced him to step down in 1975. Colonel Richard Ratsamandrava, appointed to succeed him, was assassinated 6 days into his tenure. General Gillis Andrea Mahazo ruled after Ratsamandrava for 4 months before being replaced by another military appointee, Vice Admiral Didier Ratsiraka, who ushered in the Marxist-Leninist Second Republic that ran under his tenure from 1975 to 1993. This period saw a political alignment with the Eastern Bloc countries and a shift toward economic insularity. These policies, coupled with economic pressures stemming from the 1973 oil crisis, resulted in the rapid collapse of Madagascar's economy and a sharp decline in living standards, and the country had become completely bankrupt by 1979. The Ratsiraka administration accepted the conditions of transparency, anti-corruption measures, and free market policies imposed by the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and various bilateral donors in exchange for their bailout of the nation's broken economy. Ratsiraka's dwindling popularity in the late 1980s reached a critical point in 1991 when presidential guards opened fire on unarmed protesters during a rally. Within 2 months, a transitional government had been established under the leadership of Albert Zaifi, 1993–96, who went on to win the 1992 presidential elections and inaugurate the Third Republic, 1992–2010. The new Madagascar constitution established a multi-party democracy and a separation of powers that placed significant control in the hands of the National Assembly. The new constitution also emphasized human rights, social and political freedoms, and free trade. Zaifi's term, however, was marred by economic decline, allegations of corruption, and his introduction of legislation to give himself greater powers. He was consequently impeached in 1996, and an interim president, Norbert Ratsirahonana, was appointed for the 3 months prior to the next presidential election. Ratsiraka was then voted back into power on a platform of decentralization and economic reforms for a second term which lasted from 1996 to 2001. The contested 2001 presidential elections, in which then-mayor of Antananarivo, Mark Ravalomanana, eventually emerged victorious, caused a 7-month standoff in 2002 between supporters of Ravalomanana and Ratsiraka. The negative economic impact of the political crisis was gradually overcome by Ravalomanana's progressive economic and political policies, which encouraged investments in education and ecotourism, facilitated foreign direct investment, and cultivated trading partnerships both regionally and internationally. National GDP grew at an average rate of 7% per year under his administration. In the latter half of his second term, Ravalomanana was criticized by domestic and international observers who accused him of increasing authoritarianism and corruption. Opposition leader and then mayor of Antananarivo, Andry Rajoelina, led a movement in early 2009 in which Ravalomanana was pushed from power in an unconstitutional process widely condemned as a coup d'état. In March 2009, Rajoelina was declared by the Supreme Court as the president of the High Transitional Authority, an interim governing body responsible for moving the country toward presidential elections. In 2010, a new constitution was adopted by referendum, establishing a Fourth Republic, which sustained the democratic, multi-party structure established in the previous constitution. Eri Rajoelinarimampianina was declared the winner of the 2013 presidential election, which the international community deemed fair and transparent. In 2018, the first round of the presidential election was held on November 7th, and the second round was held on December 10th. 3 former presidents and the most recent president were the main candidates of the elections. Rajoelina won the second round of the elections. Ravalomanana lost the second round, and he did not accept the results because of allegations of fraud. Rajoelinarimampianina received very modest support in the first round. In January 2019, the High Constitutional Court declared Rajoelina as the winner of the elections and the new president. In June 2019 parliamentary elections, the Rajoelinas won absolute majority of the seats of the National Assembly. It received 84 seats, and the supporters of former President Ravalomanana got only 16 seats of 151 seats of the National Assembly. 51 seats of deputies were independent or represented small parties. Rajoelina could rule as a strongman. The middle of 2021 marked the beginning of the 2021 to 2022 Madagascar famine, which, due to a severe drought, caused hundreds of thousands of people to face food insecurity, and over 1 million people were on the verge of a famine. In November 2023, Rajoelina was re-elected to another term with 58.95% of the vote in the first round of the election amidst an opposition boycott and a controversy about his acquisition of French citizenship and subsequent eligibility. Turnout was 46.36%, the lowest in a presidential election in the country's history. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe if you enjoyed.